Hey guys, welcome to Appalachia's Homestead. Patera with you today, getting ready to take the kids to piano lessons. And I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, which I knew this date was coming. And for somehow, you know something's coming, and then it's like when it shows up, you've put it out of your mind. So, which is good in a lot of ways. But this week is actually the 1 year anniversary to my, quote, injury on my homestead. If you're new to my channel, this time last year, literally, I had quite a severe injury in my barn. So when I saw my Facebook reminder today, reminding me of that wonderful day and week and time period of my life, it's kind of changed the whole scope of my day. I did a video on it, and I've done another video about injury or safety on a homestead because I think it's critical. So it's funny how I think if an individual has a traumatic experience, and there can be many different types, it really changes the whole scope of everything you're doing going forward. Your life, your family life, your, what involved the injury, things of that sort. So this has become pretty important to me over the past year, not only for myself, but because of what happened to me also affects how I view farming, homesteading, allowing my children to participate, advising even my husband. Because I think until you actually get almost knocked out by a cow or thrown by a bull or whatever, and that's just the examples I'm giving generically, you really don't know what that's like. I know there's a lot of folks that look to my channel that are looking to channels like mine, related channels and all that for homesteading advice. And it's very easy to get excited about homesteading and doing it and starting it and whatever. And I fully support that, okay? But what I want to do always is to make sure you understand that there is consequence with all of these things. Just like with your bills and with your income, know what you're getting into. If you're taking on animal life that you've never dealt with before, I don't care if it's a rabbit. You need to understand that these are life forms that can cause harm to you just the same as anything else out there, okay? I think when people view videos on YouTube, and a lot of times, guys, a lot of times you're seeing what we want you to see. Now, that doesn't mean you're not seeing reality. But at the same time, there's a lot of folks that, we're creating videos that is just showing you the good stuff. And people like good stuff. We want to be happy and see the cows just being so serene in the field and the hen laying the egg and all that. But, I got my face smashed in last year. I'm lucky to be sitting here talking about it because, frankly, I went through quite an emotional ordeal with it. At the time that it happened, if you don't know what happened, just to give you a very quick rundown, there's a whole video on it. And when I filmed the video, it's interesting for me to look back. I've only watched it 2 times since then because I just don't like to watch it a whole lot. But because it's a year later, or it was several months later, and I knew what was coming, or I knew what had honestly happened to me, and I knew what medical bills were coming in. So, I miscalculated an animal. She was not aggressive. She did nothing wrong, okay? It's just the sheer power of these animals, and I was trying to take care of her and get her in out of bad weather, and I didn't calculate getting the feed to her first. I thought I could give it to her after. She came for the feed, brought her head up, and broke my face, broke my nose, okay? I mean, literally, I ended up filming the video that evening, but the way that I actually ended up looking, I did not film because I was so traumatized by the idea that, I didn't understand completely what had happened to me at the time. I think I was naive with my own injury. When I got up the next morning and I had severe black eyes going, and I called 2 of my doctors and got my tail chewed out. And then ended up in the emergency room having a broken nose, and they literally looked at me. They just couldn't believe it. They were like, girl, first of all, it is a miracle that you didn't get completely stone cold knocked out. And had that happened, she could have stepped on you And second to that, you're keeping your teeth. You should be really proud, because so when you're sitting there in an emergency room and you're on a concussion watch, you can't drive for 2 weeks. It's just awful. And I got lucky. My outcome was really good. So that's why a lot of times, if I've done a video or two, I talk about safety. I've had enough experience to know how bad it can be just on the light side of it. And I was embarrassed because, people look to you to be this expert and to know and to just have it right all the time. And I'm so thankful that I have so many good homesteaders in my life, because when they found out, it was like, honey, did I tell you about the time that my leg got broken off and twisted around by the bull? Did I tell you about the time that the horse about broke my foot off of me? Did I tell you the time that my nose was broken, very similar to yours? It's funny because nobody that I know that is really a homesteader, they embraced they embraced me. I was concerned that because maybe because I'm newer at certain things that, you fear being mocked. But the human spirit in the homesteading world is not like that. Real homesteaders understand, and they try to look out for each other, and they embrace. That was a big lesson. So reflecting on this today, and, I've reflected on it several times. It's changed the entire scope of how I run my barn. It's changed the entire scope of how I fence my fields, how I rotate my animals. It's critical to understand that when you're dealing with particularly large animals such as pigs, cattle, horses, things of that nature, they have a big impact. And even if you know how to do everything right, human nature, we have these moments where we underestimate, and because we're in a hurry. We've got things to do, and we go against protocol. Okay. It also has brought forth the importance of having proper equipment. There's a reason there's a halter for these animals, okay? We're building a milk stanchion or with a head gate. Didn't end up having a single issue with this cow. But the fact that I know that on a whim, if I'm not on my full game or my human spirit kicks in, I underestimate something, even if I think I'm doing it right and I have 100 times before, something can go against the grain in your face, or your arm is right there in the way. It's a serious deal. So this video isn't to show you necessarily anything, and some of you have heard me talk about this before. It's to tell you, which sounds so generic, please be careful on your homestead. And when you take on something new, dairy cows, maybe you're breeding certain animals, even if it's a goat, taking on pigs. Guys, the power of those pigs out there, honey, she can lift me right up off the ground without even trying. Has done it. It is amazing. And they're not even trying to be aggressive or mean or, however you want, or, not even being threatened. It's mind-blowing. So don't take your health for granted. Don't take common sense for granted. Don't take proper equipment and rotating your animals for granted. Because, what I have had to reflect on is, what if that had been my kid? And I told him to, just put that in there at that time. And she turned and whopped him. Man, that's something very difficult to have to live with. So I'm glad it happened to me because of my own moment. And it only took 2 seconds. But the guilt that I would have if it happened to somebody else because I instructed them wrong, or because I wasn't paying attention, or because I took something for granted, that very well could happen. So be very careful and cautious and aware of these things, especially with other people visiting your farm. I don't let people out in the field with my cow. And that's why I'm very particular with putting my goats in rotation like I do, my Great Pyrenees like I do. You have to think about these things. I hope this helps you out. I know it's a little bit of rambling and talking, but, when somebody goes through something traumatic and it makes them reflect and change, we've put everything we've got into this homestead. And I'm not going to lie. For about 3 days after this whole event, when I understood, how severe it was, and this was even before I got traumatized by the medical bills, which I could have bought the biggest, new, huge, gorgeous chicken coop with what I've paid. So I kicked myself every time I wrote a check. Thank goodness I finally got all that paid off. But, you just have to think about these things. I hope this helps you out. I hope it finds you well. Thank you for coming along with me on the journey. A lot of you last year that were with me and on my Facebook, especially close homesteaders and friends and family, you helped a lot. I almost lost my nerve. I stayed out of the barn for a couple of days. I had to physically, but my husband stepped it up. And I didn't get around the cow for a couple of days, not very close. I just made sure she saw me and talked to her and all that. I didn't want her to sense my fear. I had fear. And I had to work through it. We all do. Hope this finds you well. If you like what you see here at Appalachia's Homestead, be sure to like and subscribe and check us out on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. And I just sat here at the foot of my bed and I'm about to put my socks on and take the kids where they need to go, and it's just really been on my mind today, and so I wanted to share it with you. Y'all take care, stay well, pay attention, and we'll talk to you soon.